All right, let's dive right in. Today we're talking about a friendship that's not just years, but centuries in the making. A 75-year-old formal relationship that has to survive in the middle of some of the world's biggest geopolitical storms. We're talking about India and Iran, a partnership that's all about ancient history, modern-day trade, and some really, really smart strategy. But look, this is anything but a simple story. You've got intense rivalries, you've got crippling economic sanctions, alliances that shift like sand. So the real question here, the one we're going to try and unpack, is this. How on earth does a friendship like this survive, let alone thrive in today's world? To figure that out, well, we have to go way back. Okay, so here's how we're going to break this all down. First up, we'll touch on the ancient friendship. Then we'll jump to a modern game changer, the Chabahar port. After that, we'll get into the tough stuff, walking that geopolitical tightrope. And finally, we'll look at the path forward. Right, let's get into our first section, an ancient friendship. We're talking about a connection that goes from ancient civilizations right up to modern statehood. You see, to really get the India-Iran connection, you have to understand that this isn't just about politics, it's about history, deep, deep history. You know, this relationship, it really does ebb and flow. It goes way back, with shared roots you can see in ancient texts, like the Rig Veda and the Avesta. Fast forward, and you get this incredible blend of Persian and Indian culture during the Mughal period. Then, on March 15th, 1950, they make it official with a treaty of friendship, but the Cold War kind of puts some distance between them. Then come two huge resets. First, the Islamic Revolution in '79, and after that, something fascinating happens in the '90s. They find themselves on the same side, working together in Afghanistan against the Taliban. It's this constant pattern, right? Coming together, drifting apart, but always finding a reason to reconnect. Okay, so that brings us to the modern era, and to what is truly a game changer, the Chabahar port, India's gateway to Eurasia. You see, all that history, that resilience, it's the foundation for what's happening now. Because for India, one of its biggest challenges isn't another country, it's the map itself. And to solve that giant geographical puzzle, India looked to Iran. So here's the key idea you need to get. Strategic connectivity. What does that actually mean for India? Well, just picture a map for a second. To the northwest, India is pretty much blocked by Pakistan. So the big question is, how do you trade and connect with Central Asia, with Afghanistan, with Europe, overland? The short answer is, you can't. And that's not just bad for business, it's a huge strategic problem. This is exactly where Iran becomes the key to unlocking the whole region for India. And this is it. This is the solution. The Chabahar port. It's brilliant in its simplicity. Ships can sail from India's west coast, dock right here at Chabahar in Iran, and just like that, they've completely bypassed Pakistan. From there, goods can go by road and rail up into Afghanistan and all across Central Asia. It is, quite literally, India's new gateway. So you have to understand, this port is so much more than just a place where ships dock. It's not just about cranes and shipping containers. It's a strategy you can literally touch. It's India's entire foreign policy vision for the region, made of concrete and steel. It's about breaking free of geographical limits and building new pathways for trade and influence. And believe it or not, Chabahar is just the starting point. It's the key that unlocks something even bigger, something called the International North-South Transport Corridor, or the INSTC. Just look at this thing. It's a massive network of ships, rail, and roads stretching over 7,000 kilometers. The goal? To connect India all the way to Russia and Northern Europe, with Iran sitting right at the heart of it all. It's basically a new trade superhighway. And the benefits? They are absolutely huge. So traditionally, goods would go the long way around, through the Suez Canal. It's slow, it's expensive. But this new INSTC route, we're talking about cutting the travel time for goods by almost 40%. Think about what that does for costs, for competitiveness. This is how a smart strategic idea turns into real money and real economic power. So it all sounds great, right? But here's the catch. This whole grand plan, this entire relationship, is happening in an incredibly complicated part of the world. It's like walking a geopolitical tightrope with very, very high stakes. In fact, India and Iran are facing what you could call a triple threat. And here they are, the three big challenges. First, you have the crippling US sanctions on Iran. Second, you have the massive China factor. And third, there's the ever-present risk of regional instability just boiling over. Let's take them one by one. All right, so hurdle number one, those crippling US sanctions. The official name for the policy was maximum pressure, and the goal was simple, to completely isolate Iran's economy from the world. But here's the tricky part. These sanctions are what's called extraterritorial. That basically means the US says, we don't care where your company's based. If you do business with Iran, you could face penalties from us. That puts countries like India in a really tough spot. And the effect has been, well, dramatic. Just a few years ago, back in 2018, about 11% of all the oil India imported came from Iran. Today, that number has plummeted to basically zero. You can imagine how that weakens the economic glue holding the relationship together. Okay, on to challenge number two, the China factor. Now, look at this map. Here's India's Chabahar port. And then, just 72 kilometers down the coast, that's barely a drive. You have the Gwadar port in Pakistan, which is a massive project funded and built by China. This is no accident. This is a great power competition playing out in real time, right on Iran's coastline. And it's not just about ports. China brings something else to the table, something massive. The source material puts it perfectly. China's 25-year strategic deal with Iran gives Tehran a financial lifeline that India, because of the sanctions, just can't compete with. Basically, China can write checks that India can't cash right now, and that creates a really tricky situation for New Delhi to navigate. So you've got sanctions from one side, competition from the other. What's the path forward? Well, for India, the answer is rooted in a core belief, a strategy of autonomy. It's about charting its own course. And that course is called strategic autonomy. What does it mean? In the simplest terms, it's the ability to make decisions based on your own national interests, not because some other country is pressuring you. It's about refusing to be pushed into a corner. And honestly, India's commitment to its relationship with Iran, despite all this pressure, might just be the best real-world example of strategic autonomy you can find today. So what does that actually look like on the ground? Well, it's a 4-step game plan. First step, you sanction-proof your trade. They're working on ways to trade using their own currencies, the Indian rupee and the Iranian rial, to get around the US dollar system. Second, you make these corridors a reality. That means finishing up key projects like the railway line from Chabahar. Third, you use diplomacy. You talk to partners in groups like BRICS and the SCO to get more countries on board. And fourth, you don't put all your eggs in one basket. You broaden the partnership beyond just energy into things like pharmaceuticals and tech. And this is really the key takeaway. Think about this delicate balancing act. India is getting closer to the United States, it has strong security ties with Israel, and at the exact same time, it is carefully maintaining its 75-year-old friendship with Iran. Now, that might sound like a contradiction, but it's not. It is the very definition of an independent foreign policy, where you deal with different countries on different issues based on your own interests. And that brings us right back to where we started. The story of India and Iran is a long game. It's not about quick wins. It's about patience, incredible diplomatic skill, and never losing sight of the big picture. And it leaves us with one final, really important question to think about. Can a strategic patience actually win out against immense superpower pressure?